We've covered it a good bit at ringside. Fans are also as excited for this as they are for the QR code stuff with Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy's, that the Bloodline. The Bloodline had kind of hit a point heading into WrestleMania where it was getting a little stale. It was getting a little meh. We've seen this all before from Jimmy. We've seen this from Solo. And now this story going on with Solo and these new members. It's really freshened things up, and it's made the Bloodline very interesting again. We talked about it a few weeks ago that it seems like there's a split. It almost seems like it's going to be Hollywood versus Wolfpack and how the NWO and that kind of thing was. But there's a lot of people that are watching this and unfamiliar with Tama Tonga, don't know much about Tanga Loa. There's also these reports of Jacob Fatu, an MLW star that's already signed, and he's probably going to join this new version of the Bloodline Solo. So that's where I wanted for you to really take the fans to the learning tree, because you have such a wide knowledge. You follow all elements of sports beyond just, say, WWE, AEW. Why should new WWE fans be excited for Tama Tonga, Tanga Loa, and Jacob Fatu? Let them know about their impressive resume they've had outside WWE.
Yeah, they've definitely been plying their trade elsewhere and making waves for a long time. You know, Tama Tonga and Tanga Loa, especially out in New Japan. Especially excited that people are getting a taste of Tama Tonga. I've been a fan of his for a while. The energy that he brings. He's that great mix of being a good worker, solid worker, not to impugn his ability. He's really, he can be solid in the ring and had some decent singles runs in New Japan, but he's the perfect mix because the dude is a great promo, great charisma. He brings a lot to the table, and just in the little time that he's been in WWE, it's been a little bit of a taste of that. Kind of like a live wire, and you really love that energy, and he brings that in spades. Tanga Loa is another one who, WWE fans may feel like they're not familiar with him, but old school fans, if you remember his days as Camacho, on the SmackDown brand and everything, this is kind of a return for him. A lot of people are surprised that this is the same guy, but yeah, he's been cutting it out. Him and Tama Tonga as Gorillas of Destiny out in New Japan have been one of the best tag teams in that company for about a decade plus. And it's been great, so I'm really excited for them, especially if they do keep them together, put them in the tag division, or just with the Bloodline. Just whatever part they're going to take place in this, they're going to add to it. This is not a negative in any case having them there. Jacob Fatu is going to be the really interesting one to see, because there's been a lot of hype around him with hardcore fans. He's been in MLW. He had a year-long title reign. For the longest time, people have been calling him like the next iteration of Umaga in terms of, that kind of athleticism, that kind of energy, that kind of lineage. And, the dude is still young enough to where he can make a serious impact, to the point where, if I can, point people to the article that you wrote on Ringside, talking about how some people are actually scared about how he might overshadow Solo going forward. And that's a big thing, which says a lot about Solo's situation, because they've put a lot of time and energy in presenting him as the guy. So that's what you can expect from Jacob Fatu, to come in and basically be that kind of menace and that kind of wild card going forward. And honestly, like, who knows what side of the Bloodline he's even going to fall on. Like, you would think he'd fall in with this kind of new side and things like that. So a lot of interesting things to think about. But in terms of what they're going to bring, this shouldn't be seen as a negative or kind of like, any kind of nepotism or anything like that. These three cats have been bringing it for a lot of time outside of WWE, and they're going to bring it to this storyline, and there's some really big things to come. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm more of a very casual New Japan fan, and I've been learning more about MLW in recent years and stuff like that. So, but I'm just excited for this idea, because we all know that's where it's going, and even though we know it, we're still excited for this idea that with Jimmy and Jay are gonna get back together, and they're gonna get back with Roman. That's where it's just the crowd reactions of these chants that we want Roman, like Roman is the door's wide open for him just become a white hot baby face and just have that kind of rock going from heel to baby for his massive turn, and just make tons of money for them. But just the idea of the Usos, arguably the greatest tag team in WWE of all time, going against the greatest tag team, arguably of New Japan of all time. That's fascinating, and to get it still while they're still in prime years, and then you have the element that they're related and they're part of this bloodline. They have the bloodline story. Like, it's just going to be such a fun, elevated way. And I mean, I've been learning a lot about Jacob Fatu, and if you haven't, please go look up the videos. A lot of hype videos on him, and just like you mentioned, the story we did about that some inside he's afraid he's going to outsign Solo, and reading some of the comments on Reddit about him and stuff like that, and not surprised that he's going to do that. That he's just that talented. He's, as you told me off there, maybe the best of the bunch, and maybe the best of these new Bloodline cats. Also making the point that maybe maybe he ends up with Roman's side. Maybe he'd be better off as a good guy because he's just so talented. Maybe he's kind of limited by being a part of bad guy. I've seen a lot of people mention, I forget his name. What's the guy who is also Samoan and he's one of the OG members of the Bloodline? Bad News.
Bad Luck Fale.
Yeah, I've heard people throwing his name out. Maybe they sign him. That would be interesting if he became like another guy instead of swerving us all. And it won't be Jacob Fatu. It's him. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to how they bring Fatu in. Where this Gorillas of Destiny is to go. Because they even mentioned it. They said, it was guerrilla tactics, and they mentioned Destiny. If they use that name, that'd be great. You put me on to their theme song, which is Hot Fire.
Bring that theme song in there.
Yeah, if they have all those elements, and they stick to that, they don't shy away from this history they made. They embrace the history into WWE and then immerse it with the stuff they got. Very exciting times. The Bloodline is going to be really interesting heading into the summer and the fall, and it's great stuff.